Hello, my name is Jacqueline Kelly, and I am going to walk you through how to use sensitive analysis as a practical tool for capital budgeting. Specifically, how we can integrate both quantitative and qualitative risk factors to make smarter, more defensible investment decisions. Before we get into sensitivity analysis, let's ground ourselves in why it matters. The overarching goal of financial management is to maximize shareholder value over the long term, not just chase short term goals, but to allocate capital efficiently, balance risk and return, and sustain stakeholder confidence. To achieve this, financial managers rely on four core functions: planning, which means forecasting cash flows, and capital needs, which is budgeting, where we direct resources to variable projects; risk management, which is identifying and controlling financial threats; and reporting, which keeps stakeholders informed and accountable. Sensitivity analysis lives right at the intersection of budgeting and risk management. It is a tool we use when we need to ask what could go wrong and how badly. So to define sensitivity analysis, it is a technique that tests how changes in a single variable, while holding everything else constant, affect the outcome of a financial model. Think of it as a stress test for your assumptions. So this process follows three steps. First, we identify the key variables driving our project, things like sales volume, the discount rate, our cost capital. Second, we test those variables across optimistic base case and pessimistic scenarios, measuring the impact of NPV, our IRR, or payback period. Third, we decide which variables carry the most risk and fold those findings directly into the go or the no-go investment decision. So the quantitative steps, right? Let's look at the quantitative side first. Step one is building a solid base case model, a discounted cash flow model that projects your cash flows, applies your weighted average cost of capital, and calculates the NPV and IRR over the project's life. Step two is calculating the input variables most likely to fluctuate: sales volume, unit price, operating cost, discount rate, and salvage values are the usual suspects. In step three is the defining your scenario ranges. A common approach is plus or minus 20% from the base case for optimistic and pessimistic scenarios, respectively. Step four is running the numbers. You recalculate the NPV and IRR for each scenario and record the delta, the change versus your base case. The final step is step five, which is constructing a tornado chart, which ranks each variable by the magnitude of its impact. The widest bars tell you exactly where your model is most vulnerable. The qualitative step is the risk factors is the regulatory exposure, the reputational damage, strategic misalignment. Those don't usually show up on the spreadsheet, but they can absolutely sink a project. There are four key factors for qualitative steps. First, you conduct a stakeholder risk assessment, interview department heads and subject matter experts to surface the concerns your model can't capture. And second, you develop a scenario narrative. A pessimistic scenario isn't just lower numbers. It needs a cause, like a supply chain disruption or a market downturn. Third, you apply a pestle analysis to evaluate political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental factors that could shift your assumptions beyond the models. And fourth, we use expert judgment and the Delphi method, structured rounds of expert to validate your scenario boundaries and weight risk and resist quantification. The internal risk is capital budgeting draws from two directions, which is internally and externally. So internally, we rely on NPV and IRR analysis with risk-adjusted discount rates. Externally, we look to benchmarking market against industry peers, credit rating agency reports, and so forth. So we use both sets of methods together produces a far more complete and credible risk picture. So, putting it all together, here's the 5-step decision framework. We start by defining our objectives and aligning the project with a strategic plan. We then model the cash flows using a DCF approach. We run sensitivity analysis to stress test variables and rank their impact. We layer in qualitative risk through PESTEL and shareholder review. And finally, we reach a documented decision. We accept, we modify, or we reject with a full risk profile attached. 4 key takeaways to carry out. No single metric is sufficient. High sensitivity to one variable signals a need for contingency planning. We document every assumption and revisit your sensitivity analysis as new information emerges through the project lifestyle. So to conclude, sensitivity analysis transforms uncertainty into actionable insight. When you combine quantitative stress tests with qualitative judgment, you make capital budgeting decisions that are not just financially sound, but strategically defensible.